Welcome, comrades. Today I want to talk a bit about mid-tier and especially where is mid-tier in War Thunder. I recently noticed people doing War Thunder shorts about low-tier fun while playing 5.7 tanks. And obviously people were telling in comments, hey dude, this is not low-tier. But other people defended it was low-tier. That made me think, War Thunder players were not agree at all about what is mid-tier, and by extension, where are low and top tier too. Obviously, very low or very high BR tanks are classified into low and top tier, but what is really unclear here where mid-tier starts and ends. And for that, I think we need to answer the question, and it is, what separates these big tiers? The main element of the answer seems simple. Big changes in the big tiers happens when gameplay changes radically, and that's why I think the very first occurrence of what we can call mid-tier happens around BR 3.3, with the introduction of the first T-34, Shermans, long-barreled Panzer IV, and similar other tanks. And that also made me think mid-tier can be subdivided, because 3.3 BR is really and obviously different as other mid-tier BR, like for example the 5.7. For where top tier begins, and by extension where mid-tier ends, the answer seems more evident. We need to see where helicopters, IVs, ATGMs, in other words the top tier elements, are introduced into the battlefield, and it is around BR 7.7. Gaijin itself seems to consider the beginning of top tier is 6.7 with the introduction of the nuke. But I always consider the top tier began at least in 7.3, where there are no World War II tanks anymore. And I think my view is shared by many people, or with very little disagreement, at least compared to where mid-tier begins according to me. Since the border between low and mid-tier is way more unclear, I think we need to discuss more about it. Why do I consider mid-tier begins so low? One of the reasons is because I am an old War Thunder player. I am in the game since before the Ground Forces introduction, and that was in 2014, and by that time there were only 5 tiers, and top vehicles were T-54 and Panther 2s, and their BA were 7.0. In these conditions, the separation in 3 big tiers was way more pertinent and way more easy. Low tier was tier 1 when you start the game, and top tier was tier 5 when you play the top vehicles. But if things change a little bit since 2014, I always think this is just top tier who increased just a little bit, not low tier who expanded. Another reason for what mid tier begins in 3.3 is the radical change in the gameplay. In tier 1, all tanks are light tanks, fast with little to no armor, guns with low caliber and velocity with a fast reload. In 3.3 are introduced the first tanks with reliable armor, reliable guns, and, in one word, with the proper characteristics you have to know to be good with. It is the first occurrence of the full game. This is also the first BR where main tanks are vehicle designed or improved with war experience, not designed before the war. But to be fair, there is a second mid-tier, and this one starts in 5.3. Why 5.3? Because this is the BR where you start encountering late war vehicles or improvements, like Tigers, Panthers, T-34-85s, Sherman 76, etc. You can clearly see the difference in up tier. If you face 4.3 vehicles in a 3.3 tank, it is bad, but not too bad. But if you face 5.3 tanks in a 4.3 vehicle, this is really not good at all for you. Well, all of this leads me to my conclusion. Mid-tier begins in tier 2 around 3.3 to 4.3 and ends in tier 5 between 7.3 to 8.3. Yes, between BRs, because that also depends if you're up-tiered or not. For historical reasons, like separation between pre-war tanks, World War II tanks and post-war tanks, and gameplay reasons. But I also call to split mid-tier between early mid-tier and late mid-tier, with 5.3 as a separation, and I am sure we could do the same for top tier 2. But there is a final question. Does this matters? And the answer is obviously no. You are free to play where you like to play. Just please, don't bully the noob. That's not cool. All we call some tier is not really important. There is no absolute tier. I personally never play top tier because I think this is not a fun tier at all. I'll probably make a video about it, by the way, so please subscribe. And that's okay. I don't feel less good because I don't use modern tanks, and in fact I don't really care if I'm perceived as good or not because, well, you know, it's a game, and I won't worry for a better place in the classment nobody cares about. And that's all for today, folks, so I hope you enjoyed the video. This was my very first, so I hope it was not too bad. I will probably make others, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button to not miss all that coming stuff. So, for today I'll just say stay tuned, play well but not play too much, and to another time. See you!